Hey everyone, the Rate of Fire rules in Savage Worlds, the role-playing game, aren't that complicated, but I do see people making mistakes or forgetting some of the more nuancy parts of the rules, so let's talk about that today.
It's a savage world, strangers a weird war.
Hey everyone, it's Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff, please like, subscribe, visit the website, support us because when we can buy more Savage World stuff, and we've got a podcast called Mastering the RPG that you might want to check out as well. And Eric does that with me as well as a professional game master named James. So let's talk about Rate of Fire. Or, we can talk about helping out more, help a guy out. Oh, no, you want to talk about Rate of Fire. All right, so let's talk about Rate of Fire. So Rate of Fire is a simple concept, and what it means in the Savage Worlds rules is how many shots, and that means shooting dice, basically, can you take in an action. So the Rate of Fire weapon 1 means you can take one shot in an action. Now, that may seem kind of limited, but keep in mind in Savage Worlds, you also have multi-action that people sometimes forget about. You can shoot multiple times in a round with a Rate of Fire 1 weapon, assuming you don't have to take an action to reload. And so you can do that up to 3 times, right? Because you can do 3 actions in a round with the multi-action penalty of -2 for 2 actions, -4 for 3 actions. So that is a way of getting more lead downfield if you need to. And there's ways of using edges to minimize that multi-action penalty so that you're still shooting kind of a straight roll, and that gives you some bonus. So one of them's marksman, which means you get rid of some of the penalty based on you have to stay still, you can't move, and you can't have a greater than a Rate of Fire 1 weapon, which we're talking about is a Rate of Fire weapon. Second one is trademark weapon, which gives you a +1 for a weapon that is special to you in some shape or form. Your pearl-handled 6-shooter that you got from your father on his dying bed, whatever, right? It's special, and that gives you a +1 as well. And then the last one is double tap. And double tap, as long as you can fire 2 rounds without reloading, so something like a muzzle loader wouldn't apply, but a revolver, of course, would. Double tap means you shoot twice, it counts as 1 action, and you get a +1. So if you double tap your trademark weapon, you've just gotten rid of that multi-action penalty. So that's kind of cool. And I did mention, if you think I did the rules wrong, it's possible. I don't know. Leave a comment. Leave a comment on how you interpret things. Leave a comment on what do you think of the rules. Whatever. Just leave a comment, and we can all learn together. So the more complicated example where people kind of sometimes make mistakes is when we talk about Rate of Fire weapons greater than 1. So 2, 3, 4. I don't know if I've seen more than a 4, but Rate of Fire weapons, let's say we're going to pick something that's 3. That's pretty typical of like a machine gun or something like that, a Rate of Fire of 3. So when you're doing that, the rules as written state that you designate your targets and then roll your shooting dice. That is something that people tend to get wrong. They don't declare their shots up front. And that's, I bend that a lot sometimes, but it does make rapid fire weapons more powerful if you do let the players pick as they're rolling. So, I hit that guy and they're dead already, so I wouldn't want to use my second shot on them. I want to use it on a second mook. And if I get them right away, then I'll use it on a third mook. Rules is written, you declare how many shots you're putting in each possible target, and it can be multiple targets. Then you roll. Now the roll, this is where people get confused. So the roll is you have a shooting die for each of the Rate of Fire. So if you have a Rate of Fire 3, you have 3 shooting dice. You then roll also a wild die, just like you would if you're doing a normal shooting roll with a Rate of Fire weapon 1, but you only do 1 wild die. And that wild die value can be used to substitute one of the 3 dice that you rolled for your shooting. So let's say I have a Rate of Fire 3, I fire 3 times, I got a 1, and I get a 5, and I get a 6. And let's say there's no penalties Well, there is a penalty. I might as well talk about that right away. There is a penalty which is for recoil. So if you're firing greater than rate of fire 1, it's -2 to hit because of the recoil of the firing the weapon. So let's use our example and change it then. And let's say we rolled a 6, and a 1, but the wild die was an 8. Well, I would replace that 1 that I rolled with the wild die 8, and then therefore I hit 3 times instead of that 1 missing. So again, 1 wild die, it can substitute any one of the shooting die that you want. Why you would do one that you missed, I don't know, but you might have a hit, but the wild die is a raise, and so you'd want to replace that in leveraged arrays. So that kind of gets people confused a little bit sometimes, especially when you've got automation in your virtual tabletop and people look at it and they're going, I don't know what's going on there. Now you know the rules. Now you're in good shape. One of the other things that I think can make rapid fire weapons with a high rate of fire even more deadly is if you don't take advantage of ammunition or you don't track ammunition. One of the things about rate of fire of a weapon greater than 1 is it's an abstraction. So those 3 bullets or those 3 shooting rolls don't represent physical bullets. There's a table right in the book that talks about how many bullets are actually fired. And people, again, totally forget about that when they're doing ammunition tracking all the time. So rate of fire of 3, right in the rules, it says it's 10 bullets fired. So if you've got a magazine that holds 20, let's say, a small magazine, you're really only going to get to, fire auto twice before you have to take that action to change the magazine. So tracking ammo, if you don't do it, makes the rapid fire weapon that much more powerful. And so you can decide whether that's too much power, too much capability, while everyone else is shooting 1 at a time and they've got a magazine with 13 in it. And so they can go for a while without reloading. Meanwhile, the guy with the machine gun, if you don't use ammo tracking, he might be doing multi-action. He may be doing rapid fire, full auto every round and is just doing a lot of damage without ever having to worry about ammunition. So something to keep in mind. So I mentioned recoil is a big deal. But one of the things that also is available is the number of edges that can help with your rate of fire, high rate of fire weapons and the things that come along with them. And when I build a shooter, I love shooters that have machine guns. I don't know, it's just my thing. I like people who shoot and they shoot machine guns. And so I tend to take these edges to help get rid of these penalties like recoil and things like that. So one of them that I like to think about, and you can think about this too, is don't forget calculating. So if you've got the calculating edge and you're one of the last people to go, or I shouldn't say you're not the last, but you got that 5 or under as far as your initiative card, that can wipe out that recoil penalty very easily. But if you can't wait, because who wants to wait, right? One of the things you can take advantage of is rock and roll. Now that's a seasoned edge, but that allows you to ignore the recoil penalty. So that makes it a straight roll now, so I always take that one at some point in time because I want to get rid of the recoil penalty. Now you can also do multi-action, right? That's one action, and get the multi-action penalty as well. So I think trademark weapon and some of those other things that might apply to a rate of fire 1 weapon, unless otherwise specifically stated as far as the edge goes, you could take advantage of that as well. That's where cool things like leveraging ambidextrous and two-gun kid, that gets rid of the multi-action penalty. And because of if you're ambi, you don't have the offhand penalty. Now you can fire twice without worrying about offhanded, not worrying about the multi-action penalty. So that's something pretty cool. So another thing that's neat with rate of fire weapons is you can do rapid fire, which is a seasoned edge as well. So some of these are seasoned, and that's fine. That allows you to increase the rate of fire by 1 for 1 shooting attack in a turn. So if you do have a rate of fire 3 weapon, you get rapid fire. Now you're got 4. That makes a big deal. Now remember, bullets per rate of fire. When you're firing 4, now you're using 20. So you can basically blow through, 3/4 of your magazine or more in one action. But if you've got to, take out 4 mooks and you got to take them out now, that's a great edge to have. I love that. And then of course there's improved rapid fire, which allows you to do it for up to 2 shooting attacks per turn. So rock and roll, one of my favorites. Always try to take rapid fire 2, and that's it, right? Really, that's all there is to managing the rate of fire. And let me talk a little bit about my builds, or what I like to build out. But before I do that, kind of as a bonus, let's just summarize. Rate of fire of 3 or more weapons. You've got recoil you've got to deal with as a penalty. There's some edges that help you with that. There's an edge that helps with that specifically. You can also remember that you're throwing a lot more bullets you're using from an ammunition standpoint than the shots that you're actually firing. And then the last thing, remember, 1 wild die and then 3 shooting dies if a rate of fire 3, for example, and then you can replace one of those with your wild die. Now let's talk about my kind of builds. Now, this isn't to say it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but this is one of the things that I do often. So let me take a look at it. So the first thing I almost always take is Elan. I bow down to the altar of Elan. I like having that +2 on a Benny roll. And for somebody like myself who uses high rate of fire weapons, that -2 can be a big deal on that first shot. But if I can spend a Benny and get that +2, and now I've got a straight roll, I have a much better chance of hitting and doing some damage to the enemy. Then next, I tend to pick trademark weapon. Some game masters might think, it has to be something super special, but I can make anything special, right? So I could have my Uzi that I've laser etched my name on it, or laser etched some pattern or something that makes it special, that anybody who sees it will go, oh man, I know who this guy is. Okay, done, right? So you can pretty much trademark weapon anything. Then it gets kind of fuzzy. You could take quick maybe so that you can get multiple action cards and be able to go sooner. You could take calculating, as I mentioned, that would be a good opportunity if you end up getting lower cards. Later you can take level-headed. So level-headed, you get to pick which card you want to use. So you could technically, with calculating now, go lower in the order, assuming that it's 5 or lower, and get that calculating. Then as I get into seasoned, and there's other things you might take, before you get the season, but these are the big ones for me. Then I take level-headed almost immediately, because I do want to have that option myself. Or you might take marksman if you're really, if you're one of those folks who wants to be a precision shooter. That's a great one too. Then the next couple I take is probably rock and roll, and then rapid fire. And then from there, the world's your oyster. But I always try to get, because I like to do high rate of fire weapons, I almost always try to get rock and roll and rapid fire relatively soon in my career, when I hit seasoned, because it's just fun for me. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Just stand there with, remember rock and roll, you can't move. So sit there and just as the enemy's coming at me, it's just, I don't know, it's just fun. It just tickles me. So anyway, that's rate of fire. Not that complicated, like I said, but, there's a couple of nuances that people sometimes forget about. If you think I did something wrong, throw it in the comments. Be nice, though, when you do it. And we'll all learn together and be better players and game masters. So thanks much. I'm Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. Again, would love your support, so we can buy more Savage World stuff and talk about it on the channel. And then don't forget, mastering the RPG. We'll catch you next time. Bye.